5 months ago, I made a decision. I decided to build something in public. Not when it was ready, not when it was impressive enough to show to people. From day one, before a single piece of steel had been cut, before a single line of code had been written, this is what those 5 months actually looked like. Not the highlights reel, the real version.
I didn't start with a cut file. I started with a pencil, a notebook, and a problem I couldn't stop thinking about. A geometry draw by hand, angles, length, mounting ports. Before a single piece of steel I had been touched, because when you build alone, the notebook is the only engineer's meeting you get. I work 9 to 10 hours a day managing field service for an industrial automation company. I'm a single parent. After all of that, if the evening cooperates, if the kid is asleep, if my brain still works, I get a rough 16 hours a week to build this thing. I used every single one of them, and some weeks it still wasn't enough, because the building didn't care about my schedule. Let me tell about the afternoon I burned 3 motor drives in a row. Same grand loop, same mistake, 3 times. I sat at the bench for a long time. After the third one died. The smell of burned components is a very specific kind of silence. Then there was the firmware that passed every test and isolation and failed immediately under load. The IMU coordinate system that was inverted, not wrong enough to crash, just wrong enough to corrupt everything quietly for a day before I caught it. The steel column I had to grind apart and reweld because the alignment was 2 degrees off. 2 degrees. That invisible to the eye, but not invisible to sensor measuring vibration at 200 Hz. Every one of these moments, I felt like the project asking me the same question. Are you still here? Every time I was.
Here's what nobody tells you about building public. This is not the time it cost. This is not the burned components or the failed power-ons. This is the vulnerability. Showing work that isn't finished, posting progress that isn't impressive yet, admitting publicly that you are burning 3 motors drive in one afternoon because of a mistake you should ever cut. That part is hard, but the part is also the whole point. When you build in public, you are not performing progress. You are creating accountability, the most powerful accountability mechanism I ever used. Every post is a promise to yourself that you are not done yet.
On the night when I had nothing left, no energy, no motivation, no real certainty that any of this was going anywhere, I would go back and read the comments. There was an engineer who told me he had hit the exact same ground loop issue I described it. Spent 3 weeks on it, said seeing my post made him feel less alone in it. There was our house operations manager who said quietly in a comment that his plant loses tens of thousands every time a stacking crane goes down in planet, and that nobody in his building is doing anything to prevent it. And then there was someone who just said, keep going, this doesn't matter. 3 words. I don't know who they were, I never found out, but I thought about the comment every time I wanted to stop. That's what building public actually gives you. Not audience, not a following, not metrics on a dashboard. It gives you people who care whatever you finish. And when you're building alone in a cold garage in a midnight, that turns out to be the most valuable thing in the world. So let me show you what I actually built. A steel test rig designed on paper, cut with angle grinder, welded by hand in a cold garage, built to generate the kind of mechanical load, vibration and stress you would find in a real industrial equipment, because I needed data Real data, non-simulated, non-synthetic, the kind of data that only comes from a machine that actually moves. I took 4 hoverboard motors, brushless, real bearing, built to take abuse, striped to plastic, mounted them on the frame, and turned them into an industrial test drivetrain. When it spins, it vibrates like real machinery. When something starts to wear, the sensor feels it. The sensor node is designed around the ESP32S3. Each one carries dual IMUs, accelerometers, cross-validating every reading, and stereo MEMS microphones, listening from acoustic signature that change before a failure is visible. Mounted directly on the component. No cables, no interrupting production to install. And to give the system context, to make data mean something, I built a machinery library, stacker crane, conveyors, AGVs, handling modules, so that when a node flag on an anomaly, beef know exactly what machine it came from and exactly what the component is supposed to sound and feel like. This is a prototype, it's not a finished product, it's not deployed anywhere. It's working proof on concept, built by one person on a side project budget in 16 hours a week, and it works. The rig spins, the sensor listens, the data flow, the baseline builds. 5 months ago, none of this existed. Today, it does.
So this is for anyone watching who has something they are building. In a spare room, in a garage, in the early morning before work, or the late night after everyone is asleep. In 16 hours a week, or 8 hours a week, or whatever the week gives you. The project doesn't need to be finished to be worth showing. The audience doesn't need to be large for the feedback to matter. The product doesn't need to be perfect to be worth building. What it needs is you. Deciding to start, deciding to show up, deciding that waiting for the right condition is just another way of not starting. Every person who has ever built something real, build it inside a reality that wasn't ideal, that's not an obstacle, that is just the job. Start, show the work, keep going. The gap between where you are and where you want to be closes one post, one weld, one line of code, one burned component at a time. 5 months in, not done yet. Not stopping. Subscribe to follow the build. Link to brief in the description. I will see you in the next one.